Merry Christmas, everybody. Welcome to a great, spectacular edition of the Commercial Podcast. I am your Colonial Champion, Sean McCarty, decked out in his finest. I've got my bow tie on. I'm going to get ourselves a little bit more light here so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you like all that light, don't you? Yeah, the light helps a lot. And so here we are doing some great stuff. And what we're going to do today is we're going to be doing an award show. Hence why I am dressed up in my finest Christmas garb, but kind of feel a little like I'm missing somebody. Like somebody should be here for an award show. You can't do an award show with just one person. So let's see if we can get person number 2 on the line. Sir.
Okay, hi.
Hello. Can you hear me, gentlemen? There may be some lag, folks. This happens sometimes where just randomly...
Speaking of lag, what the hell are those ears?
These are my elf ears, sir. Do you have a problem with my elf ears? Are you earist, sir? Are you earist? Are we gonna get into? We're gonna start like this right off the bat. I have too much eggnog to drink to be dealing with that kind of thing this quickly.
As a Jew, I do not care for your eggnog.
Well, happy B-movies in Chinese Day, sir.
Hey, basketball too.
And basketball. But we have more important things to do, which is why we're taking some time off of basketball, because we have an award show to give. Welcome to,
yes, we do.
Now that we have officially introduced the Bay Area Brawler, Skylar Greenberg, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour. He and I are going to be giving our picks. We have a list of best and worsts of the year. We're going to review 2020 because 2020 has felt a little bit like a decade. So we figured the best way to avert this and the best way to assist in this is to do what we're doing. So we're going to do our wonderful award show. I would have tricked out the dungeon a little bit more, but this was done a little bit on the fly. So why don't you...
Well, here's the thing. Wrestling has put...
Battery low. Please charge now.
I'm sorry, say that again, Sky. My speaker decided to be low on battery the second you just started talking.
Sorry, I said wrestling has put so much effort into wrestling. Then why the hell should we put as much effort?
I feel like we're putting more effort into wrestling than pro wrestling nowadays. Not for nothing. But we've been booking shows monthly. We've been talking back and forth. We've been hyper analytic. We're like the 21st century version of Dave Meltzer without nearly as much BS. Or maybe the same amount. Who knows?
No BS.
That's right. So, Sky, why don't you do us a favor here and read down the categories for our award show known as the Grapplies. Which makes it sound even more serious given the hat and the shirt and the suit and the bow tie. Which has penguins on it, by the way.
That name is brilliant, Sean, and you have outdone yourself.
The Grapplies, yes, sir. Well, we got the Slammies. I was like, what's close enough to that? I was like, that's non-copyrighted. Boom goes the Grapplies.
So we have several categories that we have, including best and worst. So we have best male wrestler.
Yep.
Best female wrestler.
Yep.
Best tag team.
Yep.
Best stable.
Yep.
Best match.
Yep.
Best feud and best promo.
Prestigious awards will be receiving, some in either virtually or in one way or another. And we will be sending them probably virtual pictures of this, not the actual belt, because I'd like to keep this. But here is what the Grapply looks like. And that's right. This was done literally 3 minutes before we started. That says the best, in case that's backwards for all of you at home, with a big check mark. And there's nothing that signifies prestige like putting a title belt on a title belt.
Hey, it's a gimmick on the gimmick.
That's right. Hat on a hat. That's what we like to do. And you know what? Actually, speaking of... All right. Now we've got.
Oh, please. Oh, he's a pirate elf.
That's right.
Damn it.
Literal hat on a hat. As the best. And that, boy, what a theme of 2020, the hat on a hat. And then, what are the other categories, Sky?
Well, let's be very clear that those title belts are going to the best winners.
Correct.
We have the worst, which is the worst male,
Yep.
the worst female, the worst tag team, worst stable, worst match, worst feud, and worst promo. And what do those people deserve?
The people.
What do we give them?
What do we give them? This is what we give them. We give them the not so good belt. It's the bad Grapply. With angry faces, a "you suck" written on it, a 0 out of 10, and a little hand-drawn toilet.
Yep.
So this is what you deserve, ladies and gentlemen. If you get the worst, you will still be receiving something. So it is still an award. So,
Yeah, I don't know if it's an award I want to win.
well, but it's an award they're going to win. So why don't we kick this off with your take on, let's start with the tag team of the year, because WWE has emphasized that tag team wrestling does not matter. And so unfortunately, even though we both really like tag wrestling, it's going to go first. Who is your tag team of the year?
Hang on, Sean. Now, Sean, I did mention this to you, that we're doing it for pro wrestling in completion.
Yes.
We are transcending wrestling, so it could be any company. WWE,
That's right.
AEW, NWA, New Japan, etc., etc.
Yes.
So, my tag team of the year for the entirety of pro wrestling undoubtedly has to be FTR.
Okay. Explain.
Because no other tag team has created as much buzz as they have in the industry. And while their matches are not the best, they still have some quality bangers. And I can still say that FTR are the best tag team in wrestling, even if they don't get the chance to prove it.
Still winning belts in Skylar's eyes. Here winning this Grapply, which I will put over my shoulder. And so
the only thing is that they'll only get to hold on to it for a month before the Bucks take them.
Oh God. I don't even want to think about that. That was
and
you know,
trust me, the Bucks are coming up soon.
And let me tell you something. One of the most interesting things for me, because my nominee for the best tag team of the year, I was going to go with FTR, but honestly, what have they done of significance in the last 5 months since they moved to AEW? They've had some of the only passable matches AEW's had, but even still, they had to acquiesce the style to the Bucks. So instead of the Bucks working an FTR match, FTR worked a Bucks match. They have floated around. They got Tully, who's done nothing at all since they've started. And yeah, I mean, not to say that they aren't tremendous, but their year has really been mediocre. What's been their biggest accomplishment? Probably their podcast with Corny. That's probably got them the most.
Podcast with Corny and beating Kenny Omega and at the same man Page.
Yeah. So it's you know, I would love to give FTR that acumen, but I'm actually going to choose, despite what this last month has brought, because this last month, Impact has been Impact, and they've decided to be Impact, and I hate it. I hate when Impact has something good and they decide to ruin it with just stupid garbage. But that is TNA, as we saw in our match of the week this week. But up until this last month, I think the tag team of the year for me, I'm going to nominate the North.
That's a solid pick.
They have been, if for no other reason, they held the belts for the longest time. They went up against a whole slew of tag teams, including the incoming Good Brothers, that they were able to feud with. They had profile tags, especially when Impact was starting to get more people and they were starting to build. And, you know, Impact is going to impact, so they're still going to get stupid stuff like Who Shot Johnny and all that dumb stuff. But up until this Karate Man thing that Ethan Page started doing, which is so indie that I hate, save for this past month, they've had a solid year. They've had a solid run. Their matches have all been pretty good. They haven't been too spot festy. I think they both have a good look. They both work pretty well. And so I'm going to give my Grapply over to the North for an underrated tag team, and I hope we see them more on national television going forward.
Agreed. By the way, who are your honorable mentions?
Well, my honorable mentions, I guess, I pretty much just had FTR in the North because I had to. It was those two because really, who's the next one from that didn't do anything?
My honorable mentions were the New Day and the Usos.
Ah, see, you're gonna. That's funny because we're gonna transition now that we've given the good Grapply. Let's give the bad Grapply. So we're gonna move over, and if you notice, the good Grapply is on an actual heavyweight belt. The bad Grapply is on like a $10 Walmart foam belt, which actually more resembles WWE Velcro belts nowadays than the Snap belt does.
Yeah.
Sad to say.
Yeah.
So,
but I was very specific with the worst categories in that we could have said a tag team that was just plain terrible, but specifically I wanted to say a tag team that was pushed very, very hard and is still terrible.
I have a feeling I know who you're going to choose.
With that in mind, I have to select the Balding Bucks for the worst tag team of the year.
That's a fair pick. And of course, their fans are going to love whatever they do, no matter what it is they do. And that's the weird thing about their appeal. You know, it's like they've certainly captivated a very niche audience within the niche audience that is pro wrestling. And they cater, strictly to them. And those fans believe that the Bucks can do no wrong. And it's like, if you look from specifically just from a booking standpoint, I think all of their matches have been pretty garbage. So it's not that I wouldn't put the Bucks on this list, but I'm going to choose somebody different. And this is going to be a surprise for the worst tag team of the year. But I really do. There's nothing that this team did that quantified their position in pro wrestling. Nothing at all. I think they were pushed way too early. They were brought up way too early. And they're so WWE format. It's just nauseating every time you see them, let alone the turkey legs and the ninjas and all the garbage. And their matches have been all bad. I have yet to have a match that I like of these two individuals. My Grapply goes to the Street Profits.
It feels like this was a 1-2 horse race for worst tag team of the year, and those were the two horses.
Yeah. It's and it's no surprise. I mean, everything the Street Profits has done this year, I have just despised. There's not been a single thing I've liked of them at all. Montez Ford being all googly-eyed all the time and being like way too cartoon. Again, it's a cartoony couple of guys, and I hate that from WWE's format. And those two are like the perfect example of what I despise of what WWE is about now. And the solo cups that the custodians all have to clean up, even though nobody's in the building.
Yeah. The reason why I picked the Bucks over the Street Profits is that they're EVPs, so they're in control of what they do, and their matches are twice as long.
Yeah. It's
but the Street Profits are still a solid pick for terrible.
Yeah, I mean, if I have to imagine if the Street Profits had creative control, we'd be making the exact same argument with
arguably it could be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse. Thank God we don't see many 30-minute Street Profits matches. Oof. Just oof.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, Mr. Co-host, now it is your turn to choose a category.
Okay.
You are now the presenter.
I'm going to say best and worst male and female for the end, because those are the two big ones.
Okay.
So we're going to move on to the Grapply for Stable of the Year.
Stable of the Year. All right, let me switch belts.
So, my nomination for the best stable of the year is officially Undisputed. So it's the Undisputed era.
Undisputed are good choice.
I have really liked their work, especially the last 6 months. Those boys have been on fire.
Yeah.
And I know Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong are kind of the two lesser forget guys, but they still play their roles very well. But Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly are just world beaters at this point.
this has been, I mean, he's not going to be my male wrestler of the year, but you got to give it to Kyle O'Reilly. He's come a long way this year alone. He's had a hell of a 2020.
Kyle O'Reilly is making his way up as an honorable mention. He's definitely a good honorable mention for male wrestler of the year.
Yeah. But even as a unit, I mean, they switched babyface this year. Cole with McAfee, that ended up being the match that nobody knew they wanted until they got it. And then their work even against McAfee's group. And you know, I think that's a great choice. I think that is a great choice. Will earned Grapply.
Yep. Who was your best stable of the year?
Well, you know, I would have gone with Undisputed Era, but I didn't even think about them because I thought only one group really came to mind because it's really the only thing the main roster's got going for it right now in WWE. I choose the Hurt Business.
Ooh,
from what MVP took to that role so easily, and took to him because it was so like right up. It's basically just MVP. And he's a hell of a promo, which is something Bobby just desperately needs. MVP's great with that. Same thing for Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. MVP is the perfect mouthpiece for these three gentlemen. And I like the gimmick. I like the outfits. I like the fact that they've ended this year, even though they teased Ascension when they didn't need to. But stay tuned next week for that. I like the fact that they've got all the belts now. So they've built from Bobby Lashley just getting squash wins to competing for the world title to I think he was the first for Drew, right?
He was the second.
He was the second. Right. Because Seth was first. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because Seth was first. Bobby was second, but that match ended up being really good. I love what they've done with Bobby. He feels so much more important now than he did ever since he's returned. All three of these guys. I care more about Cedric Alexander now than I ever have before. And Shelton Benjamin, I mean, is a consummate professional. They were a highlight in that match with the New Day. Their tag work was tremendous. So I think all in all, that faction, they're stable from humble beginnings, but they have really come a long way, and I've got to give it to them.
And just think, MVP returned at the Rumble and then had a match with Rey Mysterio the Raw after, and he was teasing retirement.
Yeah,
and now he's...
Can you believe, Sky, that this year started with Brock Lesnar dancing to MVP's music? That was MVP's year, was Brock Lesnar dancing to his music.
I know. And it's just funny how MVP almost retired. And look at where the other three were. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander weren't even used on TV, and Lashley was stuck in a terrible cuckold storyline with Lana and Rusev.
Yeah. Oh, God. I will bet you that if this Hurt Business thing didn't come along, they may have gotten on the purge list when
all three of them.
Yeah, but thankfully they have stayed, and boy, what a difference they have made. Hurt Business, keep doing what you're doing, because I'm loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Exactly.
All right.
But now that we've talked about the best, we must talk about the worst.
All right. It's the belt change.
That in mind, there are several terrible groups that were created this year, but there is one that stands out above them all, and it has to be the Dark Order, a.k.a. the Dork Order.
That's a good pick. That's a real good pick.
Because I have not liked any of their work. They have done nothing worthy of being known as a powerhouse in AEW. And it just starts from the top all the way to the bottom. Brody Lee has regressed so badly. I'm starting to wonder if we really should have even given him consideration for being good at all.
Oh, I don't think that's really. I mean, I think these people are allowed to do too much. Again, it's like they suffer from these two companies suffer from opposite problems. Everything is so manual and strict and very articulately and meticulously looked over and redone in WWE. Whereas AEW, they're just like, I don't know, go out there and do whatever you want. And it's like
go do a double super flat.
Yeah, and both attitudes are not good. You need that comfortable middle ground, and both of them are just going to the absolute extremes, and neither are good, which is why wrestling ratings-wise is worse than it's ever been before. But
agreed.
But
the Dark Order is my pick. Who is your pick?
I had to give this some consideration because the Dark Order is really good, and I would really like to give it to them. And I think I will also because the Dark Order, I mean, there's nothing redeeming about the Dark Order. Colt Cabana's been fun, but he's probably it. That's probably where the area would lie. That's where I would draw the line. But I'm going to give you an honorable mention because I want to put this in, and this is going to be, well, this is going to be a little ridiculous, but I think it's important to put in. I'm going to also include the Nightmare family.
They were among my honorable mentions.
And here's why. It's not because of Cody. But what do the Nightmare family do other than get their ass beat? And Dustin's great. That's why Dustin and Cody are great, which is why, and Arn Anderson is belly bumping people, so I guess I'm not even going to add him into that. But Cody and Dustin have been great. So you take those two out, and that's what quantifies them to not be the worst stable of the year. But Brandy there for a bunch of reasons, just because she needs to get involved. Arn Anderson, all he does is just belly bump people. Who they got? QT Marshall. No offense to the guy, but I know zero about that dude, other than hey, I'm a guy who's family. Yeah, I'm a friend. In all of Friends Wrestling, and there's hey, I'm a friend, and that's part of it. It's like there's nobody really of any description as part of the Nightmare family. I mean, Dallas Page, so he can promote more yoga. The only time we ever see Dallas is when he needs to promote more yoga. His business is down. He's like, you know what? I got to get back around so I can plug this T-shirt. Love you, Dallas.
That's
never change.
General, man.
Never change, Dallas.
But by the way, I want to go back very quickly because you said that Colt Cabana was the best thing about the Dark Order, and that's a bad thing if Colt Cabana is the best thing you can say about anyone.
Yeah. And I like Colt Cabana. He was really the beginning of the goofiness in pro wrestling, like with the Superman pin. I'm not a fan of that, but when he wants to work, he can work. That I know from Colt. He looks better than half the people in AEW do now anyway, just physically. He's a more athletic specimen. So weird how things change.
That's not saying much. That's not saying much.
Weird how things change.
Also, another honorable mention has to be Retribution.
Yeah, because they've done all of nothing.
Just the absolute worst. Hey, let's just throw these people together and it's an anarchist stable, and then let's also give them contracts, and then let's have them have the worst names ever. Yeah,
that's pretty rough. I mean, if we were doing specific company ones, they would definitely win that particular one. But it's the thing is with Retribution, I think part of what made it worse was that they pulled back on it. Like they're like, you know what, we don't want to do this with them after all. Or Dark Order, they're just like, no, you're going to take this and you're going to like it. And that's a big part of why I put them so low on my list, because it's like it's just been shoved down people's throats. Or not even AEW people like it.
Exactly.
So moving on, now that we are 2/7 of the way done, let's move on to the awards, the Grapplies for Promo of the Year. Now, I assume you're referring to who has been cutting the best promos of the year.
Who's been cutting the best promos, or who had the best individual promo?
Well,
I would suggest going with person who cuts the best promo.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's been a single promo that has really shook wrestling this year, good or bad.
I don't either. But I will say my pick for best, amazingly, you want to talk about surprises, and it comes to actually, you know what? I was going to pick him. I'm going to honorable mention him instead. My pick for promo of the year is Dustin Rhodes. Because every time I hear Dustin speak, I'm immediately drawn into what he's saying. He's intense. You feel like he means what he says, and you believe him. I believe that he means what he says. He's got that je ne sais quoi of a promo from 30 years in the business, that old school attitude, the old school mentality where him cutting a promo on the Dark Order, I'm like, yeah, go kick their asses, Dustin. He has got it down. He's got it to the T, not to the T-bar, but to the T. Dustin Rhodes, well-earned. Dustin, well-earned. You deserve this Grappling, man, because you have been tearing it up on the promo circuit, and people aren't even paying attention to you, but I am. I have keep it up, man. You're terrific. Who's your pick?
First off, that was a great pun, and I appreciate it.
Well, we were just talking about
Secondly,
retribution, so we had to throw something in there.
right. Anyways, for my pick for best Grapply promo of the year, I'm gonna go with someone who has only been around for a little bit of time since his return, but has really created some of the most watchable characters in WWE. It has to be the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns.
I almost chose Roman Reigns. He's the guy I decided to sideline in favor of Dustin Rhodes. But Roman Reigns, his promo ability has been A grade.
Ever since he has come back, Roman Reigns has been believable. He's been fantastic. But most importantly, he has been unlikable.
Yeah.
There is nothing that you can say that you like about Roman Reigns as a heel.
His teeth are nice.
And he's going to look real nice while he smiles and beats you up.
Well, for as much as Kevin Dunn focuses on Roman Reigns' teeth, you might as well pay attention to it.
Yeah, that is fair. That is true.
but agreed. No, Roman's been great. I think Roman has turned a lot of people around on their perception of him, just based on this year alone.
My honorable mentions, by the way, go to Eddie Kingston and Randy Orton when he tries.
Kingston's promos have been good. I've liked McIntyre's promos too. You know, he's not the most enigmatic person to ever grab a microphone, but you still believe him. You know, you look into his eyes, you see the intensity on him. I think that Drew McIntyre does deserve his share for the promos he cuts. And of course, Kevin Owens is always great. You know, he's always magic on the mic. He's like the perennial promo guy.
Yep.
So that's for the good ones. But now we got to move on to the bad ones. So
yeah.
You're anti-Grapply. You're Grapply for worst promo of the year.
This is a very tough selection because I have so many choices. But I have to go with someone who I have lost a lot of respect for because of the terrible work that he has been involved with.
I already know what you're going to say.
And damn it, Matt Hardy. I'm picking Matt Hardy.
Oh, that was not who I thought you were picking. Okay. But that's fair.
Matt Hardy has been awful. Just awful. And I hate that he has evolved back into the broken Matt Hardy gimmick. It was tired 3 years ago. I don't need to see it again. And
yeah. That's
he's had 2 good promos this year. One about Randy Orton trying to beat up Edge, and the other one when he was himself after he died.
Practically.
And everything else is the duplication, drones, his weird laughing thing, telling Sammy Guevara to get out of the mud because people will think it's a mud show.
I thought that was funny though. I thought that was funny. I was like, they cannot help but get corny into every show they do. They cannot get his name out of their mouths at all.
Rent free, my friend.
Yep.
Rent free.
That's the type of stardom you want when people hate you so much that they can't help but mention you all the time.
Exactly.
Now.
So, my friend, who is your worst promo?
This is tough because there have been things that have been quantified not as promos, but were promos. But there were so much cinematic, stupid stuff too with the scenes. But this one to me, I know is probably going to be a little surprising because his delivery is always A grade, but just the way that he's gone this year and the type of things that he's been having to push. My worst promo of the year is Bray Wyatt.
Really?
I know that's a surprise. Listen, I know his delivery is always A grade, right? But think about what he's had to put up with and what he's had to coagulate into this particular environment that he's had to do. He had to sell a swamp match. He had to sell the Firefly Funhouse match with Cena. He had to be set on fire with Randy Orton. And I know, listen, there's definitely a group of people who like his promos, and I liked his promos back when he was just doing Swamp Master Jay over there, which is actually Swamp Master B sounds better if you're going to give him a rap name. So I liked him better in his Swamp Master B gimmick, and it's just this with the Fiend, and it hasn't been doing it for me. The gimmick just hasn't done it for me, and I'm going to make this a tie. I'm going to actually give this to two people, because Bray Wyatt is number one just because his style of promo is losing favor with me, which is why I'm giving him the award. The award for regression as far as promo goes and delivery, that's got to go to Seth Rollins.
You're not wrong, because whenever Seth Rollins promos come on, I fall asleep.
This Messiah thing has completely ruined Seth Rollins' ability to speak. And that is the ultimate travesty, because now he used to be fiery and impassioned and believable, and now he's reciting monotone lines that they've written for him, and it's very obvious that he's doing so. Hence why he sacrificed himself at Survivor Series, because he knew he was crap, and he knew that it was time to go and put that gimmick away. And
the best part is that I even parodied it in NWL by making it even more overt and making it even worse.
Yeah. So that's so yeah, I would say and the more I think about it, I'm probably going to give it more exclusively to Seth than I will to Bray, but you're on thin ice, Bray, because this year has not been kind to you. Even though you've been very prominently featured, it hasn't been kind.
But Bray Wyatt is the master of remaking himself. So I would not give him I would give him a chance, because you know that he can always recreate himself. And whenever we say his career is dead, he always rises back from the ashes.
Well, and it's not like I'm saying he can't speak. Obviously, he can speak. His delivery, he's got one of those voices, kind of like Jake Roberts, where he could be reciting the phone book and you're drawn in. Of course, before the 70,000 cigarettes. But,
yep.
he draws
even after the 70,000 cigarettes, Jake Roberts sounds amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So, and Bray's got that tone and that charisma about him where you want to listen no matter what he says. And a lot of the times what he says is like Ultimate Warrior levels of nonsense. So, but he's got that delivery. He's got the delivery.
Maybe it was for the best that Randy Orton killed him with fire.
As if he actually did. But,
yeah.
Well,
other honorable mentions that I really think we have to talk about, Chris Jericho.
Yeah, it hasn't been the worst that's happened to Jericho this year.
Oh.
It has not been the worst that happened to Jericho this year. And also, I should add, one of my honorable mentions for promo of the year has to go to MJF, too. Save the WWE light formatting aside, MJF always nails promos.
Yes. I'm also going to do a very fun one, a best and worst nomination, same person, which is Brandy Rhodes. Brandy has been terrible for 99% of her promos, except for that one where she told Jade Cargill to walk up the other side of the street with her ass backwards.
Yeah, she had that one moment. I mean, she may have had the single promo of the year, the one promo of the year, but her collective work is not good. Not good.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Somehow you can be the best and the worst.
That's right.
So now we move on to the next category.
What do we got?
Best and worst feud of the year. So, we will begin with the best. My winner for the Grapply for the best feud of the year must be Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton.
That's fair, because it seems like that's the only feud of the year.
Now, this one is very close, because I almost picked Randy Orton and Edge, but I feel like Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton had better matches.
Well, they didn't go 50 minutes apiece. And they also weren't retaken 16 times.
Randy Orton and Edge may still be wrestling even as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Word is they're still lost in the performance center with that Ford.
Yeah. Well, Ford quotation marks.
Yes, somewhere.
Yeah, but honestly, Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, this is the feud that has really defined Drew McIntyre as being a main event level babyface, because he had the short feud sections with Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley and Dolph Ziggler.
Oh,
But
yeah.
truly, it is his work with Randy Orton that has cemented him as being at the top. And even though there are questionable decisions like having him lose Hell in a Cell,
Still don't get why they did that.
He has still come out on top and is still the WWE champion, and I'm happy.
Yeah, he's I mean, Drew McIntyre is in my feud of the year as well. Just because he has been doing tremendous work all this year. And talk about a moment that was robbed from him earlier this year. But I think that if that had gotten the moment it really deserved at the end of the show where it mattered, my feud of the year, even with the way that ended and the fact that we haven't seen the Brocktopus since, I'm going to say the feud of the year was Drew McIntyre versus the Brocktopus with the Walrus. I don't know why I went nautical references there for all of a sudden, but
so we're all creatures under the sea.
the Brocktopus, and yeah, you would not want to meet the Brocktopus and the Walrus out in the middle of the ocean. Let me tell you what. But still, that feud was really good. I mean, you want to talk about the biggest pop at the Rumble, the best booked Rumble, from Drew just going there, smacking him out, and then just staring at him, saying, "It's time. It's like time to happen." And then it just the way that it was done, the finish of WrestleMania 37, everything about that feud was what Drew needed, except for the fact that that the pandemic hit. But you put all the rest of those pieces together, that was the best told feud of the year, from what Drew wanted, where he was, the path to getting there, the redemption from leaving and coming back that they all addressed. It was top to bottom, I think, the best continuous feud, at least that lasted a few months worth, was those two.
That's fair, and I think it's a very worthy nomination for the best of the year.
And I'm going to put an honorable mention, too, before we do the worst.
Oh?
I'm going to put an honorable mention because I want to say that even though a lot of it was acting over match, I really do have to give credit to Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. And I know that's still kind of ongoing with them, but the two matches they had were very entertaining. Enjoyed both of them very much. And it proved that Jey Uso, when he's in the right environment, he's got something more than just being a tag wrestler.
So I have a question for you, Sean.
Yeah.
Let me know your knowledge on this one. So Big E just won the Intercontinental Championship.
Today.
Do you think they're going to do a thing where Jey Uso takes the title off of Big E and then Big E goes after Roman Reigns?
It'd be nice, but Big E would have to be way more serious than he is at this moment.
Well, I think he could be if Roman Reigns was to insult Big E, which is how you get him to be serious.
Yeah. I'd like that. I think we need more Big E matches on pay-per-views. Because for someone who they all say is this blue chip world championship, world heavyweight contender, he's been doing nothing. He's kind of been getting the Cesaro treatment.
I know.
I hate to put it that way, but that's kind of what they're doing.
Although I understood that he was not on the Survivor Series team because he was being protected.
Right.
Because on Survivor Series, SmackDown was a flop. And I like that. I mean, he still wins more than he loses. So
yes. So, but still, the feud of the year, McIntyre Lesnar, you get the good Grapply. Let's move on to the bad Grapply. Who do you have for the worst feud of the year?
There are several that I could talk about.
Yes.
And I'm going to mention the honorable mentions first. The Dark Order versus the Nightmare Family, but specifically Cody versus Brody Lee.
Yep.
That was a terrible one. The weird stuff between Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. Can't do it. And another one that's just really bad was the Hurt Business versus Retribution.
Yeah, which was done
my
for
winner,
no reason.
Yep. but my winner has to go to the feud that was with a quote-unquote world championship. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It has to be Braun Strowman versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, that was pretty rough. I mean, the first match was okay. I liked their first match. I could handle. Their swamp match.
Their first match was their best match.
Yeah. Everything else.
And it was the one that had no gimmicks involved whatsoever.
Fancy that. What do you know?
And then they become a swamp fight.
Yeah.
Then the mess of SummerSlam. Then the crappy hardcore fight they had at Payback before Roman Reigns won the title from them.
And now we haven't seen Braun Strowman since. He was at Survivor
Braun Strowman's
Series.
been on Raw, headbutting Evan Pierce in the head.
Great. Superb. Thanks for coming, Braun. You want to talk about characters that are dead and buried at this point.
He is this generation's Big Show.
Yeah. Well, no, I think people are going to look more fondly at Big Show than they will Braun Strowman. At least the way it's been going recently. Even though he has arguably one of the best theme songs that they've come up with in the past 4 or 5 years. But it's I don't know what you're gonna do. So the worst feud of the year on my part. I think just because of the absurdity of what it was and why it was done, and I know this one is also ongoing, but the fact that it was such a calamity. I don't even know how to describe how dumb the feud was between these two and all the stupid stuff that they put in the mix and the clown show thing that he got a New York Times award for and Jericho was there. You have to know where I'm going with this. It's MJF versus Chris Jericho. I like you, so let's fight. I like you too, so let's fight. Let's be angry at dinner, and then let's do a show tune. Oh, yeah. Hey, remember we're going to fight next week? Oh, let's have some more dinner. Let's go to Vegas and get some crappy shows. And now they're just – I hate it. I hate everything about it. They're killing MJF with it. And Jericho is a big part of it. Jericho's just taking that dagger and going, I am the star of AEW. I will take your fame and make it mine. So worst feud of the year. Here you go, guys. You deserve it because that really did suck. And it still does suck. That dinner debonair sucked. And you deserve for that whole feud to be put in a little teeny toilet.
Oh, yeah. So we have 3 categories left. Best male, best female, and match of the year.
And the way I think we should move on to the match of the year.
All right. So what is your pick for match of the year?
There have been many good matches all the way around. There have been very few great matches this year. And part of it is just a victim of circumstance. You know, it's just part of what the pandemic has brought. You know, it's just with no fans, it's hard to get really involved or invested. With the fake crowd noise, it's even worse. With all the crowd pandering when no one's there, it just breaks the illusion. But one match above all stands out to me as something well, there were two. And one of them is going to be the one that everybody says was the greatest match of the modern era, which I'm sure it might be at least in the wheelhouse. But I'm going to leave that as an honorable mention. In this situation, my honorable mention is that Walter and Ilya Dragunov, or whatever his name is, classic from NXT UK, because that was terrific. Loved it. But my choice...
That was a great match.
My choice for the match of the year is, I think it was I want to say it was SummerSlam, Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton 1.
That was... Yes, it was. The one that ended on Drew McIntyre with a crucifix hit.
Yes, with the backslide. That set up perfectly into match number 2 and did everything right. Those two had slowed it down. The pacing was brilliant. Their storytelling was great. The comeback was good. And then they both got juice And then the finish that led to more in the future, where both of these guys are really putting in an A-grade effort. This was everything that I like from WWE, and they do it so infrequently. It was so refreshing. So that one, Drew McIntyre, a 2-time Grapply winner, 3-time actually, here on the very first Grapplies. So congratulations, Drew. This one is for you.
Congratulations. Clap, 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 clap. So I'll go through my honorable mentions first.
Yep.
The Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre match obviously deserves an honorable mention.
Yep.
Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole.
Yes.
That was a surprise.
That was another honorable mention. That was another great match. And who would have thought that Pat McAfee was trained by Rip Rogers. So once you know that, you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. But
even though he was trained, we didn't expect him to be that good.
Yeah. No, he nailed it. And he's been selling his injuries when he did this War Games thing. And I love it. I love Pat McAfee has been a surprise
for me because he's been so great as a heel.
Yeah. Pat McAfee has definitely been a huge, huge surprise for this year. And a welcome one.
Yep. Another underrated match. I really love the Drew McIntyre Seth Rollins match because you're kind of coming off with that Brock Lesnar thing. They're like, okay, can Drew McIntyre be a strong champion? And that match with Seth Rollins was really good and really underrated in my opinion.
It was a logical first step for Drew's title reign, and I think it did really well. It shows that Seth, when he wants, Seth can still work his ass off. I just wish they didn't kill him with his gimmick.
Yeah. But I think for me, the match of the year has to be the Men's Royal Rumble.
Yeah. That's a real good one.
Like, I was going to pick Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre for my match of the year, but you picked it already, so I can't take it from you.
Fair enough. But it was worth it. It was the best singles match of the year, I think. But that Rumble was magical.
It was. And I've come around on it because, as everyone knows, on the CAW Podcast Gaming channel, me and Joshua reviewed the Royal Rumble, and I hated the first half of it. And now I've come around onto it because I realized what it was trying to do.
Yes. So, Sky, I wish you hadn't chosen the Royal Rumble because now I got to send 30 of these out.
You only have to send one to Drew McIntyre because he's the one that won it.
That means I still have to send him 3 others that he's won tonight. I have got a lot of colored paper to print out.
But Drew McIntyre has honestly deserved it, and we'll talk about it later when we get to Best Male.
Yes,
because I think you all know who's going to win that.
Yeah, well, Edge return, that was absolutely insane. The pop he got for that, how amazing that was. It was a great Rumble. Probably the best booked Rumble in the past 20 years.
I would say one of them. One of them.
Okay, fair.
Really
That's
fair.
From
because the early, what was that Rumble in 2003? Was it
the one that Lesnar won?
Yeah,
it was 2003.
Yeah, that was a good Rumble. Some of the early 2001s was pretty good. 2007 with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker.
Yeah, I always liked 2002s because it had a lot of big names in it. Goldust came back, Big Boss Man came back, Mr. Perfect came back and got a big pop, and was one of the final 4.
And he was great in that match.
Yeah, it's a shame that things kind of went the way they did for Kurt, all in all. But
yeah.
What can you do?
Another one is 2009 when Randy Orton won.
That one was okay. I never really liked how they booked Triple H and Legacy. I liked the feud between Triple H and Orton, even though it shouldn't have closed Mania 25. I liked the feud with Orton and Triple H, but I just thought that was a little more Triple H than it was about Randy Orton, which I don't think was fair to Randy for considering that was his best year ever, in my opinion, was 2009.
Really?
So, yeah. From what he was... I loved his gimmick. I loved his look. I loved how cold he was. I don't think he should have won the title off a 6-man tag match. And then, of course, they went through the ringer with him and John Cena. But But all in all, Orton accomplished a lot of really good gimmick work, really good character development that year that stuck with him ever since.
That's fair. That's fair. But now that we have talked about the best match, we must talk about the worst match.
That's right.
You want to go first, or should I go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
The worst match.
Well, before we get to your worst, what's your honorable mention for worst matches of the year?
Well, they're all cinematic. Pretty much everything cinematic is an honorable mention.
Yep, me too. Me too. Every cinematic match besides AJ and Undertaker.
Yep. And but there is one matchup above all else that I really just cannot stand. I couldn't even finish watching it. And you saw it here on a live stream, right here on the Core Martial podcast. It was Backlash 2020, the match, quote unquote, between the Street Profits and the fucking Turkey Leg Mafia, Hanson and Rowe, and their whole ninja thing. And, oh, somebody hit Braun Strowman's car. Let's all run away. And the bowling ball and the turkey legs. And I couldn't even watch it because it was, of all the really crappy things that have gone on this entire year, that by far had to have been the worst. I never shut shows off. I had to shut the show off. I couldn't even do it. So that match, and it ruined me on Hanson and Rowe. I have not been able to look at them the same way since.
No.
And it's a shame because I really liked them up to that point, but that match really ruined them for me. And must have ruined them on Vince because we haven't seen them in ever either. So, how about you, mister?
So, I was very much going to consider all of the cinematic matches, but this one is a personal one for me. You know what it is. It was only 2 minutes long, and it was one of the worst Universal title matches ever, which is saying something.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman versus Goldberg.
Yeah, that was bad. That was real bad. Thank God.
I don't know if I hate it more because it was so short or if it should have gone longer.
Thank God it only went 2 minutes.
I would have hated it more.
I'm thankful it only went 2 minutes. Otherwise, Braun Strowman might have gotten hurt. And note that I'm saying not the 53-year-old's going to get hurt. No, the 30-year-old is the one who's going to get hurt. And, yeah, thankfully that ended mercifully short. Otherwise, that might have made my list. But there is nothing that is ever going to undo the damage that was done to both those individuals and the company's reputation, quite like that that tag match. Although the Money in the Bank is a close second. Because I hated that match. Everything there was to be about that, I hated.
Just think, Money in the Bank is now almost completely ruined.
It's it's dead. Now that Miz cashed in and didn't get anywhere because he cashed in like an idiot in the middle of a match. You're not Seth Rollins, Miz. Don't even pretend you are. And from being accidentally given to Otis and the worst Money in the Bank of all time by just falling into his hands to him then losing it to Tucker in a feud that we have not seen anything of since. It was just heel turn and run away and read the script on camera to say what you did. And then that feud was gone. And then The Miz got it. And then The Miz lost it because he's got an ineffectual John Morrison who that's what John Morrison came back to WWE for. Yeah, I would say all in all, bad. Very bad. This is a holiday. We're supposed to be cheerful. This is supposed to be a good occasion. This is an award show, damn it. So it's time to move on, Sky. What's our next category?
Let's go with best female and worst female.
All right.
So this has been a weird year for women's wrestling because there hasn't been many good picks.
Yeah.
And my honorable mentions list is going to be surprising. And if who I'm going to pick as my winner is also going to be surprising. But my honorable mentions were Charlotte, Bayley, and Sasha. And I did not pick any of those three because they've been too inconsistent and either been gone for long periods of time or just have been involved in some terrible stuff.
Fair.
So my winner It's going to be Io Shirai.
Okay. Okay. I
And the
think that's
reason
fair.
I pick her is the reason I pick her is that I have really liked her matches on NXT, and being the champion of the best division in women's wrestling in the entirety of the business is going to get you points.
Absolutely.
Because Io Shirai has been the best.
Yes. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Mine's going to be surprising. I think you're going to be more surprised at the honorable mentions than you will the actual pick. I'm going to reveal to you who won the Grapply for best for female of the year. In my eyes, she has been the most consistent in her promo game. Her matches have been mostly good. Her booking has been mostly bad, but again, that's not her fault. She's been doing the best she can. I think that she held on to a belt just a wee bit too long, and that Hell in a Cell match was something. But I'm going to say the female of the year for me is Bayley. I think that Bayley, I like her heeling it up. I think that her promos have been really solid as a heel as far as being somebody irritating. I think that she's been very fun. I liked her at Survivor Series. She's been, given the circumstances they put her under, she's been doing her best. And I really can acknowledge that she's been trying hard.
On her own, she's entertaining.
Yes.
It's just when they try to overproduce her, that's when she loses her
or
fun factor.
Or any sort of involvement with Sasha Banks. They need to get those two away from each other as long as they humanly can.
Oh, you're just saying, you say that, but do you want to know what the match is for the Tag Team Championships for the women's division on Christmas episode of SmackDown?
No, do not tell me they're doing this.
Triple threat tag team match. Charlotte and Asuka versus Bayley and Carmella versus Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair.
Oh, you scared me there for a second because I thought for a second they were going to be like, oh no, Bayley and Sasha are back together.
No, but just imagine it's the three horsewomen with a random ass partner.
That's fine. That's fine. You scared the hell out of me. I thought they were going to bring Boss and Hug Connection back, and which I wouldn't put past them, by the way. I would not put that past WWE after they're feuding all year for them to be like, oh no, we're fine. Ha 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 ha. I could totally see them doing that.
Just imagine it's going to be a triple threat, and you're going to have Sasha and Bayley and Charlotte all in the same ring with each other.
We would have been creaming over that years ago, but thanks WWE, you ruined literally everything. Here are my honorable mentions. I honorably mention Rhea Ripley for having arguably the best match of the entire WrestleMania between her and Charlotte.
I forgot about that in Match of the Year, but I think her and Charlotte had the best women's match of the year.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, they had the best women's match of the year, for sure. And they, I really do think that Rhea has really come a long way, and I think there's still more to go. I think that I don't think she's going to be in WWE long. I think she's going to be bound for bigger and better things. But she did great. Rhea Ripley's in. Another one I wanted to mention, just because of the progress she's made, of how much better she's gotten from when she started and what our perception of her was when she won the championship and who she won it against and who she bumped for. She has come a long way into identifying her as a personality as well as how she should work. Another honorable mention I'm going to give to Nyla Rose. The match she had with Hikaru Shida, I was real impressed with.
I'm sorry, but just because we just did CLC, I thought you were going to talk about Carmella.
No. Sorry. What else has Carmella done this year? Exactly. She released a wine. Good for her. But that's really all she's done. But Nyla Rose has been consistently getting better, and I have to give her a ton of credit for that because she's been facing a lot of criticism for multiple things, some things that she should not be receiving criticism for. But she's getting better. So most improved female wrestler.
I guess we could next year do a category for most improved and biggest evolver.
Yeah, and least improved. There's a good long list of regressors, which I guess is a great transition, actually. An amazing transition into our worst female wrestler of the year. Sky, I'm going to let you start because you and I have the same pick.
Actually, no, Sean, I'm going to let you because you have the passionate hate for this woman. And
Okay, wait, well, hold on. It's not hatred, okay? I don't hate this woman. I hate what she's become. My pick for worst female wrestler of the year is Asuka. And the reason is this year she's been in the world title scene, in the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship title scene all year. Name for me one time when she's been important. Not to mention that they made her into basically the stereotypically cartoonish, overly stereotyped, animated, screaming Japanese lady with this really eye drop paint that just doesn't look good anymore. And they put her into crappy gimmicks, and her matches have been Her ring work has been, honestly, I think it's gotten worse because I find more inconsistencies with her than I have with most other wrestlers she's been facing. And it's been really sad to see when somebody who was viewed so valuably in NXT to reach this point. She started with a match with as tag champions with the Kabuki Warriors. Again, name Kabuki Warriors really tells you all you need to know about what they did with Asuka. But her and Kyrie were good, and then she did this stuff on her own. She was gifted the Raw Women's Championship, then got into a 4-month feud with both Bayley and Sasha, where she wasn't even the focal point because the whole point of the matches, including a double duty at SummerSlam, were to get Bayley and Sasha's feud over, not anything to do with Asuka. So she's just kind of been the placeholder all year. Her wrestling has regressed, and I'm at the point where I don't want to see Asuka anymore. And that's really, really sad to say because she was once great, and now she is really fallen off the wagon for me. So, Asuka, this one's for you. You're Grapply. All right, Sky.
Yeah.
Why don't you follow up?
Honorable mention goes to Brandy Rose.
Yeah, she was my honorable mention.
But if Brandy was actually a wrestler, I think she would have won it. But she's not really a wrestler. She's just a personality.
Yeah, she's just someone get me on this show, damn it.
Yeah.
Oh, and watch my cooking show. And I'm Pergandanant.
Did WWE ever use Brandy? I know she was with them, but
No.
Did they ever use her?
No, and you kind of understand why now.
I think all she was a ring announcer, right?
That was it. That was it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if she was a ring
That's all
announcer.
she's good for. Stand there, look pretty, and say words.
I'd take her over Justin Roberts at this point. Tough call, right? Tough call. So, Asuka, this is the first one that we are unilaterally agreeing that you are the sole proprietor and owner of this one. Because it really has just been you, ma'am.
There's just no one else.
There's no one else. There's no one else that's been that consistently regressing, who was once powerful and important. And
yes,
it's a shame, but we've got one more category first, and this last category. Let's start with the worst. Let's do the Grapply. So we'll end on a high note here for the holiday season. So who is, Sky, your worst male wrestler of 2020?
My first honorable mention has to be Matt Hardy because I really have hated what Matt Hardy has done this year.
Fair.
Another one would be Seth Rollins because I hated what Seth Rollins has done outside of his match with Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, he's not been good.
But
the match with Dominic was okay.
But there's one guy who has really emphasized terribleness over the last few years when he used to be great and used to be an icon of the wrestling business that you could say was a legend, and now he's been reduced to a fat fuck.
Gee, I wonder who you might be choosing. Shame. I know you don't even want to say it.
Pick?
No, he's not my pick. If you didn't hear him, he chose Chris Jericho. And Chris, I totally agree with you about Chris. There's nothing you could say. I mean, his feud with Orange Cassidy, he saw that Orange Cassidy got an indie following, and Jericho, as usual, was like, give me that fame. I want that fame instead of I can build my own, which, again, the dumbfoundedness of Jericho, who has the star power and the name recognition, wrestling down to these indie guys as opposed to the indie guys wrestling to Jericho's level to build people is baffling with AEW. And after his feud with Orange, which was bad enough, and then his matches, he can't go anymore. He really can't. And
it's not just that he can't go anymore, but he looks so bad. Like his damn belt broke when he took takeover headlock from Kazarian.
Yeah, he's been having way too many vodka and waters. Way too many vodka and waters.
And he's been involved in arguably the worst cinematic match of the year, the football field one.
Yep. And, I'm starting to think another one I should have put in for worst feud of the year. Cassidy and Jericho definitely deserves an honorable mention for that. There was nothing interesting between those two. I thought Cassidy cut a halfway decent promo on Jericho, but that was it. That was it.
Was it a good one?
It was
like
halfway decent. Halfway decent. Wasn't decent, it was halfway decent. That's like a 45%.
It felt like a promo you cut in promo school.
Yeah, if only he had gone to promo school. That's probably where his level is promo cutting 101. But,
yep.
It could have been worse. It could have been suffering succotash.
We need John Cena to go in there and say, hey, you cut a decent promo. Good job. But this is how you cut a real dance.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a hell of a promo. Cena coming back after Roman Reigns. That was still terrific. I still watch that sometimes.
And I love how he made Roman so angry on purpose that he got more of a better promo out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, it's funny because it's, I feel like we really could have used John Cena this year, more so than in just the Firefly Funhouse match. But we really could have. I feel like we may not have understood at the time, but I think that John could have added some stuff into what were some really crap matches. But, it probably would have been him burning Bray Wyatt instead this year at TLC. So I guess it's a trade-off.
No, Randy Orton burned down Bray Wyatt's house.
Well, Bray Wyatt erased John Cena from existence.
Uh-huh.
So, anyway, the worst male wrestler I chose, you said fat fuck. And that immediately reminded me of who my pick is. Because if there's any one person who has irritated the holy hell out of me this year, in all their mannerisms, in all of their actions, I will give him credit. He can lift, and he's got some moves when he wants to have some moves. But all of his idiosyncrasies irritate the hell out of me. I don't think he has earned anything that he's gotten this year as far as the push that he had. Obviously, with the crap gimmick he's already saddled with, as I mentioned before, the heel turn from his partner that led to nothing. And then he's just been floating around ever since, losing to The Miz. My worst male of the year has got to be, hands down, Otis. I cannot stand the, oh yeah. I don't need to see the Kool-Aid Man on my pro wrestling, okay? Get rid of it. And the stupid Caterpillar's dumb. The Mandy Rose stuff was not even remotely passable. The only thing that was decent about that feud was about 5 minutes into Sonya and Mandy, and about only 5 minutes in. Not even Otis was even important in that. And I just have nothing good to say about the dude. I got nothing. He can move. He can move. For his size, he can move. He's athletic. And he lands people flat, so he's safe. So I'll give him those three. But personality-wise, and the push he's gotten, and the type of things that he does, goof-wise, I just cannot stand this goddamn cornball at all. Honorable mention Joey Janela, because you are crap in the ring, Joey.
We would roast Joey more, And we would probably make him the worst wrestler of the year if he was pushed to a prominent position.
Yeah, if he wasn't booked as the jobber he's meant to be, I'd have more to say about him, but I don't, because the one who really added from the accidental Money in the Bank win to losing that Money in the Bank to just doing nothing, I pass. If I never see Otis again, it'll be too soon. Here's your grapply, buddy. It won't fit around your waist.
For you, Sean.
It will not fit around his waist.
Let's say. So, do you think in a year from now, Chris Jericho will be bigger than Otis?
I think in a year from now, we're going to see Chris Jericho versus Otis in a Battle of the Santa Claus-sized men match. Winner
AEW would do that. Oh my God!
Winner gets this bag of pork rinds. Pork rinds on a pole match. There we go. AEW, book this. Pork rinds on a pole. It's Otis versus Chris Jericho.
Are we sure that Vince Russo doesn't work for AEW?
Honestly, I think Vince Russo's ideas are better than what AEW's been coming up with. That says a lot. It says a lot. But that's I don't feel good talking about Vince Russo while holding the prestigious Grapply as we head to our final category, the best wrestler, male wrestler all year. Sky, we already know who you're going to pick, so why don't you lay it on us? Who won it?
Big Daddy Drew McIntyre.
Yep. It's
Big Daddy Drew.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to make a case for anybody else. I would have put Randy Orton up there had he not just had this match with Bray Wyatt.
That's the one.
You know, because everything that Orton had done this year up to this point had been great, and then he set the Fiend on fire.
That's the thing, is that you said 2009 was his best year. I honestly thought this was Randy Orton's best year up until he lit a demonic on fire.
Yeah, that really burned his chances to cinders for winning this Grapply for me. But really, you look at everybody else. Who else has had a year like this? Cody's been having
Roman Reigns, if he had been around the entire year.
Yeah, if he had been around the entire year, I actually think that just for the sake of us having two different Grapply winners, I think I am actually going to choose Roman Reigns, because for the impact that he had in such a short period of time has been very, very valuable. Even though he was there for only half the year, Drew, hands down, the most consistent all year. Got to give it to Drew. I think Drew is the hands down undisputed winner of the big Grapply. But I think that one definitely deserves, even if it's a little smaller, to Roman Reigns for the impact that he's had this year and the type of development that he's gone through to really prove to what I believe now, the way that WWE books them, I believe that he is in fact number one and Drew is number two in their perception. And I think that is and the way that obviously with Reigns and AJ taking the TLC match first really tells you all you need to know. So, Roman Reigns, you're getting one from me.
Just think, those two started the year as the final two men in the Royal Rumble match.
Yep.
And they ended by going head-to-head in Survivor Series.
Yeah. No, well, they've been the two guys who have been the most protected and the most taken care of this year, and they both deserve it. They 100% both deserve it because they're top of their game.
Right, because Drew McIntyre has been the most consistent. Roman Reigns, I would say Roman Reigns has had a better work than Drew McIntyre this
year. Yeah. It's but they've both been A grade, so you both deserve a Grapply for what you guys have done. So terrific work, and congratulations to all of our winners, all of this entire holiday special, because we have doled out all of our awards, our Grapplys. Skylar, I'm so glad you were able to actually hop on and make this happen, man.
I appreciate it. So hold on. Are we not doing a match of the week review?
Well, do you really want to review this match of the week?
I'm going to say right now, I hate you, Sean. I never want to see you again because you made me watch the worst hardcore match I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, don't challenge me, Sky. I'll come up with something worse.
Knowing early TNA, I think you could.
I know I could. I've already got ones in line. You know what? I'll bring up if I can find it. I'll go find that match between Michael Nakazawa and Alex Jabali with the Legos and the flamingo at the pool and the baby oil and the stuff in the thong down Jabali's throat. Oh yeah. Don't test me, Sky. I've put him into a silent horror.
I just feel so bad for Dustin being so big in that match.
It was not a good time for Dustin. You can kind of see why he doesn't want to talk about that period in his life. It's not good. It's not good. But, that match, I mean, with the Christmas tree, with all the hockey equipment and the golf club, Shark Boy having like his fin bandaged, the interference from James Mitchell, which was pointless after the barbed wire and the glass and the tacks had come in. Like, why is the ref going to stop James Mitchell at this point? What rules is he breaking?
The only good thing about that match was Father James Mitchell's banging purple suit.
The banging purple suit and the promo beforehand. The video package was all right. And everything else I could take or leave. But, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. We'll cleanse our palate with a great match of the week this week that I haven't chosen yet. But stay tuned. Check out in the description after today, because I will insert it in, and we will have ourselves a great year-ending match of the week come the 30th. The 29th. Come the 29th. Sky, thank you so much for being a part of our holiday special. It has been a blast, my friend.
And a Merry Easter to you, too.
Yes, right. And Happy Kwanzaa to each and every one of you out there. This is Memorial Day weekend, after all. So, with that lovely...
Okay. Quick. We need to make a Tony Schiavone best troll of the year.
Yeah, Tony Schiavone is definitely commentator of the year.
No.
No.
Actually, Samoa Joe.
I think Samoa Joe as well. I think Samoa Joe as well. And Corey Graves is the worst commentator of the year. He's really gotten bad. Like, insufferably bad.
No, it's Michael. It's Michael goddamn Cole.
Yeah, you could pretty much put any of WWE's commentators on there. Interchange them all. It's
Spinebuster through the ladder. Like Spinebuster through the table.
Yeah, stay tuned for that, because next week we're going to do our TLC review where you can understand all these references we made if you haven't seen the show yet. So stay tuned next week for that, as well as a great match of the week. Sky, for the third time, because we love having you here, thank you, Mr. Co-host, the Bay Area Brawler, Skyler. Thank you for being here for the awards show. The Grapplies.
Thank you, and I will see you next week.
See you next week as well. We are going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll be here for another fresh match of the week. So thank you very much for watching. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, everybody, and we will see you right after this.